I hope you are sitting down because you are going to get hacked. Yeah, you heard that right. You are going to get hacked. My name is Anthony Germanos, and today I'm talking about ransomware. Ransomware is malicious software that encrypts or scrambles your data, then prompts you to pay a ransom. And the longer you wait, the more expensive the ransom becomes. It's ransomware. Ransomware hit the hospitals in the United Kingdom in May 2017. This ransomware was called WannaCry. And yes, if you get hit, you want to cry. A lot of information in this box that showed up on the screens of computers that were infected. A lot of information. The font is small, it's tough to read here, but the general thrust is your data is encrypted, we have harvested it. If you want your data back, you pay a ransom. And the longer you wait, the more expensive the ransom. It really happened, United Kingdom, May 2017, in the hospitals. Can you imagine going to a hospital in London with blood coming out of your eye sockets and having the receptionist tell you, sorry, our computers don't work, come back later? It really happened. When organizations get hit by ransomware, they have one of three options. Option one is restore from system image backups like this. I advocate creating these backups quarterly, and I'll show how to do this later in this video. Restore from backups. Option two, the $, pay the ransom. I'm not a fan of that, neither is the FBI, but it does happen, people pay ransoms. And number three, pray. It's February 2023. Every so often, I go canvassing with a one-page handout for a ransomware recovery test. I walk into businesses, I give them the handout, I do a 20-second speech, then I say, what would you do if ransomware got on your computer, on your network, and took you out? What would you do? And the most common response I get, I kid you not, the most common response I get is, I don't know, we would pray. Not very responsible, in my opinion. I am a certified ethical hacker. What does a certified ethical hacker do, you may say? A certified ethical hacker goes into an organization and looks for vulnerabilities or weaknesses in their security. Then we document them. Then we work with the decision makers to remediate or repair the worst ones. Bringing in an ethical hacker is like bringing in the fire department to tell you where a fire would probably break out if a fire happened in your office. We're the good guys. You should bring us in at least once a year. Today's presentation is sponsored by my fourth book, How Hacks Happen. In How Hacks Happen, there are two personas. There's me, Mark, the good guy, who wants to protect you. And there's Brad Cracker, the bad guy, who wants to rip you off. He's good at hacking, and one of his favorite tools is ransomware. He says hacking is easy, and he likes the easy money. Also, maybe you knew this, maybe not, but hacking is not illegal in some countries. That's right, not illegal. And that would include the America haters, Russia, Iran, North Korea. Hacking is not illegal there. I have 5 main points for today's presentation. Number 1, determine if you have ransomware, which I already covered. 2, break down encryption and decryption. Does the two go hand in hand? 3 is how to recover after ransomware gets on your network. 4 is plan for ransomware. Because some of my peers feel that it's not an if question, but a when question. It's not if ransomware gets on your network, what do you do? Instead, it's when ransomware gets on your network, what do you do? And last, I'll be talking about the highly controversial topic of cyber insurance. I already talked about how to tell if you have ransomware, but something that most people don't think about is if they got ransomware, they may already have had their data harvested. So the people who put ransomware on your servers may already have the data of interest, and they're threatening to sell it on the dark web. And that means all the secrets your patients have entrusted to you will no longer be secret. WannaCry is the ransomware I'm talking about today. It hit the hospitals in the United Kingdom. Many governments, including ours, blame North Korea. And the official name for North Korea is the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. That's the official name. And they took the blame, or they have been blamed for WannaCry. WannaCry had a devastating impact on hospitals in the United Kingdom. And the time frame was only about 7 days. And look at the ramifications of WannaCry getting into the hospitals. I have a heat map coming up. It's about 90 seconds, and this will show how rapidly WannaCry spread worldwide. Also, every so often take a look at the lower left-hand corner to show the timeline, because it's pretty scary how rapid this was. This is on YouTube, by the way. I'm just embedding it here. One, two, lots. Why is it that healthcare is the most popular sector that gets targeted? Is it because healthcare is where the money is? Is it because there's old software? Or is it because there are network admins who say, oh, that software was here before I got here. I don't want to touch it. I know we're getting patches from Microsoft or from our Linux friends, but I don't want to touch it. I'd say it's all three. And that's why healthcare is such an attractive target. Also, when you get ransomware, you have the decision. Do you want to pay the ransom or not? The FBI would say no. If you pay a ransom, you go on a list of payers, and the ransomware publishers will come back to you in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months for more money. It's like your favorite restaurant sending you coupons to buy more pizza. They know you already bought pizza from them, and they're coming back and asking you for more business. The ransomware people are doing the same thing. Let's move on to encryption and decryption, which go hand in hand. When you send data across the internet in plain text, it can be recorded and read at a later time. There are many free tools out there. The one I use is called Wireshark, and it's free. All your data is sent in plain text unless you encrypt it. If you encrypt it, then it appears as computer garbage unless somebody has the key. And here's a very simple example of encryption or cryptography. Let's suppose I'm sending information to my friend Joe across the internet. I may be sending him the phrase United States of America, but I don't want other people who capture internet traffic to know I'm sending him United States of America. So I encrypt it. I use a key of +5, and I tell Joe ahead of time that I'm using the key of +5. With my key of +5, the U becomes VWXYZ. The N becomes OPQRS. The I becomes JKLMN. And I'm sure you get the picture. For every letter I have in black, I'm adding 5 to produce what I have in blue at the bottom. People who capture traffic and read it later will look at what's in blue and see computer garbage. And of course, that's pronounced. You thought I would pronounce that, huh? Already tried that. I tried pronouncing what's in blue, and the dog gave me a look of, oh, he's finally lost it. I rely on him for food and shelter, and he's lost it. Because I was trying to pronounce what is in blue. Joe receives what I sent in blue, and Joe has the key. He knows that I used the key of +5, therefore he has to use a key of -5 to figure out what I sent him. Z goes down to Y, X, W, U. S goes down to R, Q, P, O, N. Enough of that, man. My brain is melting. But you get the picture. The key I use to scramble to create what's in blue is the key that Joe uses to descramble or decrypt from blue to black. And that's how it works when you send information across the internet that is encrypted, which you should be using for usernames, passwords, social security numbers, medical record numbers, and credit card numbers. This key is 3 bits because in internet math, there's a 1-bit that's on or off, there's a 2-bit that's on or off, and a 4-bit that's on or off. So 1 is on, 2 is off, 4 is on. That gives us a key of 5, and that's only 3 bits. In internet math, we have 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512. This is just a key length of 10. There are key lengths of 256-bit, much more complex than I can count on my fingers. This is pretty standard with today's websites. That concludes today's math lesson. Let's continue on and talk about recovering after ransomware. Because if you get hit by ransomware, you have 3 options. Option 1, pay the ransom, which I'm not a fan of. Option 2, recover from your system image backups. And I'll be talking about these in a few minutes. And option 3, what I put in the middle, is I have an idea. Since I know what the ransomware is called, I'll just go to Google and search for that ransomware, learn how to kill it, or even better, get the key to decrypt all the files. There are people out there who will do that. It seldom works, but yet people try that. I'm going to stop. And I'm back. It's February. Tough for this. Paying a ransom, restoring from your backups, or Googling the solution. Your decision. Let's go on to number 4, which is planning for ransomware. Earlier, I said some of my peers believe that it's not an if question, but it's a when question. When ransomware gets on your network, what do you do? What you do is you make sure you have backups. And there are two types of backups. One is the system image backups, which I advocate doing quarterly. When you do a system image backup, you back up your operating system, your patches to the operating system, your programs, and the data as it existed in that backup. If you do this on the last day of the quarter, which in this case would be March 31st, then you'll have your operating system, your patches, your programs, and your data as it existed on March 31st on here. You also have nightly backups, which are automatic and they run 7 days a week. You back up to somewhere in the cloud. There are a lot of different services out there. If you have to restore, then you restore first from here, then you restore from the nightly backups that have been performed subsequent or after this backup was performed. That's how you get your business back in business without paying a ransom. I have a short video here. This is about 2 minutes long, and it shows how you back up your system image to one of these. This is a simple USB drive. You can find them at Amazon. They're dirt cheap. You plug it into a USB port. It shows up as another drive letter on your computer, and then you use that as the target or destination for your system image backup. The computer sees this as the D drive, and the name is Blue Windows Image Backup. This backup took 30 minutes. I paused the recording at several points to keep this recording at approximately 2 minutes. If you do not have a system repair disk, you can choose yes to create one, pop a blank DVD into your DVD drive and create one. If you do, make sure it's somewhere safe. Remember, this appears as the D drive, and the backup that we just created is called Wise ThinkPad, because that's the name of my notebook computer where I recorded this. After creating this backup, you hop in your car and you take it to the bank. I know that's a little extreme. I put these in the vault at Umpqua Bank in El Dorado Hills, California. I have a box on the bottom row. It's a big box. It's big enough to hold 2 bowling balls. I realize those are in high demand and you may not have access to that, but you can rent one of the smaller boxes. Even if the box is this high, it'll still hold many of these. It's important that you disconnect the drive from the computer quickly after you do your backup. And that's because if ransomware gets on a server, it'll infect the server's C drive and other drives that are connected, including one of these. So you reduce the window of opportunity for ransomware to get onto your backup media. Having ransomware on your primary drive, for Windows it's the C drive, is already a disaster. Can you imagine having ransomware in your backups too? It'll be a double disaster. In addition to storing backups offsite, somewhere secure, like at the bank, you need to test the backups. For the quarterly backups, you perform a test restore. What I do is I connect these to my workstation at the home office, and I do a restore into a virtual machine. From there, I log in as the administrator, and I verify that I have access to the data. So I test these. Remember, I'm making these backups once a quarter. I also test the nightly backups to the cloud. What I do is I go to that software, I select some folders at random, and I restore them to the C:\temp folder to verify that the backups are working. A lot of people out there think their backups are working, but they can't prove it. They don't know the username and password that they use to launch the software to initiate a restore. They don't know how often backups are running. You got to test them. Let's continue on to the last topic, the most controversial topic. And yes, I'm talking cyber insurance here. Last year, I traveled to South Carolina to give my You Can't Hide Wi-Fi speech. And the meeting planner said, you have 90 minutes, and here I am prepared to talk 42. Then he said, can you talk cyber insurance with us? And I said, yes, I can. And granted, this is a group of people who audit hospitals. This was a few days after Will Smith walked on stage and hit Chris Rock at one of the awards shows. So I start my presentation with, I'm going to talk cyber insurance, and you'll have to promise not to Will Smith me. And I put a chair up in front of the main aisle, and they laughed. Then I said, cyber insurance is not a good place to put money. I am not a fan. Let's talk about insurance and outsourcing risk first, then I'll go back to cyber insurance. When I was learning HIPAA, I came across this chart of risk from an assessment from OCR, Office of Civil Rights. Here we see that risk is the combination of the likelihood of an instance and the impact of that instance. You can have low, medium, high for likelihood. You can have low, medium, high for impact. I did this presentation for a group of training coordinators in Florida. And this was shortly after 2 hurricanes hit Florida in 6 weeks. And I said, what is the risk of a hurricane hitting Florida? Well, it's probably high because you just had 2 hurricanes in 6 weeks. So the likelihood of a hurricane hitting Florida is high. And I said, what is the impact of when a hurricane hits Florida? That's also high because properties along the shore fell into the ocean, properties further inland got flooded, people were displaced, everything was destroyed. High likelihood, high impact, therefore high risk. And organizations like to farm out this risk to insurance companies because they don't want to incur the risk on their own. This could be the simplest explanation of risk to help you decide what risk you want to take on in-house or what you want to farm out to an insurance company. Now let's talk about cyber insurance. Here's what happens with a hack. You learn that you got hacked. Maybe you get that big red message that I showed you earlier twice, indicating that WannaCry was on your computers. You call a computer guy and say, you need to get us back in business. You call the police because you got a crime scene. You call the insurance company because you bought cyber insurance and you want to start the process of a claim. And of course, you write a press release because you have to disclose it. The police come by and they say your servers are a crime scene. They label them and take them away. Your people cannot do their work. And when payday comes, you can't process payroll. Your good clients or your best clients leave because you can't do any work for them. Your best people leave because you missed payroll. And your reputation is in the garbage. Then the insurance adjuster comes in and he asks some unpleasant questions. That would include, is the firmware on your firewalls current? Is the software on your servers current? Is the software on your workstations current? Is your virus protection active and current? And can you prove it? And probably not. Remember, your servers are in a storage locker at the sheriff department, or maybe they're still in your office, but there's ransomware on them, and you can't get your data. You can't tell what's happening with your virus protection. You're out of business. Then you say to the insurer, well, I can't prove anything about the firmware or the software being current or the virus protection, but my reputation is in the garbage. Can I get a check for that? What is the dollar amount of damage to reputation? What is the dollar amount of damage to reputation of a financial advisor who bounces checks? What is the dollar amount of damage to reputation of a marriage counselor who cheats on his wife? What is the dollar amount of damage to reputation of a covered entity or a business associate who is holding EPHI, who is holding medical record numbers, social security numbers, digital images, and charts of meds, and promised to keep them secret, but has to disclose that they're not secret anymore? After you determine the dollar amount of damage to reputation, you get to convince an insurance company to put that number on a check and FedEx the check. And that check will come in handy because OCR is going to come in the door. They're going to look at all your vulnerabilities and then determine how heavily to fine you. So your best clients are gone, your best people are gone, your reputation is in the garbage, but you got that check from the insurance company, which will pay the OCR fine. That is what you get with cyber insurance. We're almost done. I have one more slide. This time next week, we will all be somewhere else. And you get to decide what you'll do with the information that I presented today. Will you, number one, make system image backups and store them somewhere safe and make these backups at least quarterly? Will you, number two, stockpile cash? But since we're talking about paying ransoms from ransomware, you'll be stockpiling some form of cryptocurrency, and the big name there is Bitcoin. Or will you just maintain the status quo because you got other things to think about at work? It is your decision. I know your time is valuable. I know there are other things you could have been doing. There are other places you could have been, but you chose to listen to me, Mark Anthony Germanos, tell you that you are going to get hit by a ransomware. It's not an if question, but a when question, and you need some solution to get you back in business. Thank you for your time.